Like when objectivism began to form for Rand, and I guess even her belief in the benefit and the power of individualism, rational self-interest, free market capitalism, how much of this was formed from like her actual experience in America, like meeting, you know, the Hollywood directs in the studio, being given opportunity and realizing the potential of her being able to rise and become something, I guess, from being in more of an environment that facilitated that kind of opportunity, as opposed to how much of it was from, oh, let me study the foundations of the United States.
I don't think any of that. I think, I think really she develops the foundational principles of her ideas at a very young age.
Mm.
And basically she develops them through, I think, a process both of introspecting and identifying the value she is to herself, right? This is a rational egoism. This is a morality of selfishness. This is the idea that you are it. You're what's important in life.
Yeah.
There's nothing else really. Everything else is important because it's important to you.
Yeah.
You in that sense are the standard. Your life is the standard. I think she develops that very early. She also loves, in her youth, very young, she loves reading romantic literature, whether it's adventure stories written by primarily French and I guess British authors of these heroic people who go do heroic things. And that just excites her. That is the kind of person she wants to be. And that's the kind of person she wants to admire. And then I think she reads Victor Hugo, again, politically maybe not her kind of person, but, deeper down, the hero worshiping, the values, the struggle, the willingness to do anything to achieve your aims and important aims, even if you disagree with them. So these bigger than life struggles is so all of that I think influences her. And she's constantly thinking about it. She's a genius. A lot of this is original. Now, I think by the time she comes to the United States, she knows that she wants to come to the United States. She even says at some point, I just read recently, at some point she thought England was the ultimate, right? She had mainly read about English heroes going out, adventurers and going out and everything, and the British Empire and everything it represented. But then she ultimately discovers America, and when she discovers America, that's it. That becomes her focus. And I think she studies the founding principles of America, the founders. And then I think you're right in a sense that all of that is reinforced by the sense of freedom that you get when you come here. She fell in love in her first time she saw the skyscrapers of New York. She fell in love. She loved skyscrapers. And New York was by far her favorite city. She had to go to LA for professional reasons, but she always wanted to live in New York and landed up for most of her life living in New York. So the skyscraper, Hollywood, she was disappointed in Hollywood because so many of them were leftists. So many of them were real communists even. No. And so she was very disappointed in them. But the ability to rise up, the ability to be successful, that was America. And that just reinforced the ideas that she had about individualism. And then I think she came to the conclusion, again, I think fairly early on, because she's already involved in kind of a pro-capitalist movement in the 1940s before even The Fountainhead is published. She comes to the conclusion, she's seen communism, she's seen capitalism, but she also understands that if you're an individualist, if you believe individuals should live for themselves, pursuing their own values, using their own mind, you need freedom. That's it. You need freedom. What does a free society look like? It's a capitalist society. What does capitalism actually mean? It just means freedom. It just means being left alone to pursue your values, as long as you don't violate other people's rights, left alone to pursue your life as you see fit. That's all capitalism is. It's not some sophisticated economic theory. It's just a political theory that says, leave people alone, protect their rights, protect them from harm in a sense of physical force by others, protect them from fraud, and otherwise leave them alone.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So kind of let's go there now. Capitalism today seems to be like such like a talismanic word, but that means so many different things to so many different people. And so many people seem so confused about what this socioeconomic system actually speaks to. Why is that? Like, is that an intentional distortion? Why does capitalism cop so much of the blame for kind of the pitfalls of society we're witnessing today? And people will kind of assume that we live in a capitalist society when in my view, it's not really the case.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's both conscious by some people and unconscious by others. So for some, it's a confusion. For others, it's purposeful. And why would it be purposeful? Two things. One is capitalism was an unbelievable, unmitigated, unquestionable success. Mm-hmm. It drove the West to the wealth that it has today. It basically eradicated absolute poverty. There's nobody who's really poor in America or poor in Europe. I mean, maybe some homeless people, but generally, even the poor in America have air conditioning and they have cars and they have iPhones. Yep. They're not poor in a sense. People are poor in Cambodia or in Africa, right? Mm-hmm. And capitalism did all that. It basically eradicated poverty. So capitalism was unmitigated success. So first of all, everybody wants to be associated with something successful. They all know that at the back of people's minds, they know, whether they acknowledge it or not, yeah, capitalism works. We know that. So everybody, from Elizabeth Warren to Donald Trump, to real capitalists, everybody wants to be associated with capitalism. The second thing is that they also recognize that if you want to undermine something, one of the best ways to do it is to create confusion about what it actually means and to undermine it in a sense from within. Elizabeth Warren will come up and say, yes, I'm all for capitalism. I just want to make it better. I think we can, by regulating, by taxing, by controlling, by central planning, we can tweak it to make it better. Now, she knows that's not capitalism. She knows, though, what she's doing is she's undermining capitalism because she's associating capitalism with the current system. And therefore, every crisis, every problem, every issue that comes up in our culture, she can and others can then blame on capitalism. So capitalism has become, the system that is, and everything that goes wrong from the Great Depression to the financial crisis is caused by capitalism. And therefore, how do you address these crises, but with more government, more regulations, more controls? And then you get a next crisis caused by the regulations and controls and more government, but you never blame that for causing it. You blame capitalism again, so you get more government, more controls, more regulations. And today we have what Ayn Rand called a mixed economy that has a little bit of capitalism, a little bit of freedom, a little bit of being left alone, and a lot of controls and regulations and restrictions and environmental papers you have to write. I just read yesterday that they're building a new train station for the commuter train in Boston. They're building a new train station. It'll be done by 2045, 20 years. It'll cost $100 million. And everybody just, yeah, cool. Okay, we'll have a new train station in 20 years. And it's like, that's insanity. I bet you the original subway in Boston didn't take 20 years to build with all the train stations and underground and all of it. This is above ground. And I saw a video of a train station in China that they put up in 9 hours. Hours, not days, hours. Because they decided to do it and they just did it. And you can't do that in America anymore. You can't decide to do something and just do it unless you're the government, and then you're going to screw it up because you need all this train of regulations and forms, and you need to bribe everybody. We don't call it bribes, but that's what you're actually doing in order to get anything done. So everything is blamed on capitalism. They like it that way, and because that increases their ability to control us.